We're coming close to the final destination on the road to Wrestlemania, as we can now see the MetLife Stadium on the horizon, but sadly, Raw continues to feel like the B-show when it comes to building hype for it and making poor decisions. In just a single show, WWE managed to bury the Riot Squad, get tremendous heat on Baron Corbin but put him in a pointless match against Apollo Crews again, jobbing out the tag team title holders for what seems like every week on Raw, a missing champion who is sure to just give us a 5-minute appearance next week, the US champion losing to Angle, which does absolutely nothing but make him look weak going into Mania, and just going nowhere with Strowman as he enters wrestling's purgatory, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and his tiresome storyline with SNL hosts Colin Jost and Michael Shea continue. Now, we're not just going to be a negative Neddy. Raw did do a few things right, as the build-up to the Triple H Batista match became bigger since the cerebral assassin has now put his career on the line, as should he not win the match, he will be forced to retire from in-ring competition. Whilst this almost literally mirrors the feud he had with Brock at WrestleMania 29, where he put his career on the line at the MetLife Stadium, it still adds something to their match other than bragging rights. And also not forgetting the brutal main event which saw Ambrose come up short again to the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre. Other than that, Raw just doesn't feel special enough going into WrestleMania, but there were a few things you might have missed. Number 1. The Circle. Kurt Angle will be wrestling his last few matches on both Raw and Smackdown before ultimately retiring at WrestleMania 35, with his last opponent disappointingly being against Baron Corbin. It was announced on the weekend that Angle's last match on SmackDown Live will be against the phenomenal AJ Styles, somebody he faced in TNA dozens of times between 2006 to 2013. Just before we get that match, however, Angle would have a match on Monday Night Raw, and surprisingly, it was somebody not even on the Raw roster. His opponent would be another throwback to his TNA days, that being the United States Champion Samoa Joe. Shockingly, rather than have Joe go into WrestleMania as a strong champion, the almost 50-year-old Angle managed to defeat him in a non-title match. During the match, however, there was a callback that you might have missed. In 2006, a confrontation between the two in TNA led to Angle hitting Samoa Joe with a headbutt, which was contrary to one of wrestling's unwritten rules that a Samoan wouldn't be affected by a headbutt, and managed to execute the Angle Slam on him. Well, 13 years later, the two meet again in WWE. Joe started off the match by getting his own back, this time headbutting Kurt Angle down to the ground. The circle was now complete with a great throwback. Number 2. I wanna. Raw wasn't graced by the presence of the animal Batista this week, but instead, Triple H came out to address a letter that he received from Batista's lawyer. Before he could read it though, he was struggling for a good minute trying to get it out of his pocket, and in his words, managed to do the job to the letter. But H was advised that Batista will not wrestle at Mania unless he agrees to one more stipulation. It's already confirmed to be a no-holds-barred match, but to placate Batista further, he announced that he will put his career on the line again at the MetLife Stadium. Just before he announced that, Triple H also did a throwback in his own way. After Batista appeared on Raw and uttered the phrase "gimme what I want" about 12 times, the internet wrestling community immediately took to social media to poke fun at it, mixing it in with the 90s pop hit by the Spice Girls, "Wannabe."
Give me what I want! Is that what you want? Give me what I want! Is that what you want?
Well, Triple H also gave his rendition of the song when reading out the letter saying, "You will give me what I want, what I really, really want. I'll tell you what you want, what I really, really want. I wanna. This goes on and on." Number 3. It was a packed crowd. Last year, fans who attended live events quickly took to social media to show arenas and shows half empty with dismal attendance figures. Some may have been genuine, as you could clearly see the WWE tapering off massive sections, or some may have not been legit, with fans taking photos way before the show even started, which was obviously not a true depiction of the attendance. This time, however, fans as well as the WWE might be happy to see that there was a packed crowd at the TD Garden in Boston, with no areas being tapered off. Raw's build to WrestleMania has been underwhelming, but at least that hasn't affected its attendance figures. Number 4. What happened after Raw? Speaking of those in attendance, they got to see something us fans watching at home didn't get to see as WWE's cameras went off the air. Raw ended with Drew McIntyre standing tall over his win against Dean Ambrose, and after the cameras went off, Elias, who announced he is performing at WrestleMania last week, came out to give a performance to the Boston crowd. But before he could do so, he was interrupted by the number 1 contender for the Universal Championship, Seth Rollins. Instead of fighting him, Rollins requested a song by Boston's own Dropkick Murphys. Elias didn't follow with the request and instead started to attack him. Rollins managed to fight back as he ducked a guitar shot by Elias and hit him with a super kick. Rollins then finished him off with a curb stomp. Number 5. The last time we see Dean Ambrose. It's no secret that the lunatic fringeless Dean Ambrose is set on leaving the company after WrestleMania 35, after reports came in that he didn't renew his contract with WWE, and WWE in turn actually mentioned it on their website and hinted to it on its programming. On last night's edition of Monday Night Raw, Ambrose dropped a challenge to Drew McIntyre in a last man standing match. Whilst Ambrose gave it his all, he still ended up losing the match, which would make it his 5th singles loss in a row. Interestingly enough, this could be the last time we see Ambrose on WWE television, as Cageside Seats reports that Ambrose is not expected to appear on WWE television, and going forward, he will not be working WrestleMania 35. Ambrose doesn't look like he's feuding with anyone in particular leading up to WrestleMania, so inserting him into a match at Mania is highly unlikely. Whilst WWE could insert him into Wrestling Purgatory, i.e. the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, they could just end up not using him at all, and not give him a good enough send-off as punishment for not re-signing. As sad as that might sound, Reddit user We Called It the Nut Rambler posted an interesting theory on the kayfabe reason why we won't see Ambrose again, and why he's leaving. Ambrose gets murdered every couple of weeks until WrestleMania, each time more and more gruesome and awful in a way that we accept for him to be written off. But he just keeps coming back, and then one day, he just stops showing up because his contract really did run out, and nothing of importance comes of it. Damn, that's still better than WWE going with the Poochie-like storyline of why wrestlers leave WWE.
Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Number 6. Roman Reigns will be the only Shield member to defeat Drew McIntyre. Speaking of the Shield and Drew McIntyre, the Scottish psychopath has managed to defeat both Shield members the Architect Seth Rollins and the lunatic fringeless Dean Ambrose lately, so it's a given that Roman Reigns will be the only member who can defeat him when the two go toe-to-toe at WrestleMania. Yes, Rollins has defeated him in the past, but WWE likes to forget things like that. WWE has done this storyline before when CM Punk faced off against all 3 individuals of the Shield when he conquered both Rollins and Ambrose but lost against Roman Reigns. Since this is the first singles match Reigns will have after returning, it's highly likely that he'll defeat him. Number 7. Lashley will turn on Lio Rush at WrestleMania. It's now official, unfortunately, as Finn Balor will get the chance to get his title back as he goes one-on-one against Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania with the Intercontinental Championship on the line. Rumours have circulated that Balor will be heading into Mania as the Demon King, and if that's the case, there is no chance of him losing. You might recall the last time Lashley lost the title, he took his frustration out on Lio Rush, and at WrestleMania, if Lashley leaves without the title, he'll no doubt cement his breakup with the mouthpiece Lio Rush. And number 8, a huge spoiler was shown. Okay, this is either a big spoiler for this week or next week's SmackDown Live, as WWE has been playing up the main storyline heading into WrestleMania of Mr. McMahon denying Kofi Kingston an opportunity to face Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship despite earning it several times, only to be screwed out of it at the last minute. It was obvious that this would have led to a big payoff with Kofi finally fulfilling his dream of at least getting the opportunity at Mania, but the main selling point was how he was going to get there. How would Kofi finally get his match after being denied the opportunity many times? Last night, whilst hyping WrestleMania, WWE slipped in a match graphic showing Kofi vs Bryan, even though the match has not been official. It's obvious WWE didn't want to ruin the storyline by having Kofi get his match, so somebody is definitely getting fired for this slip up. What did you guys think of this week's edition of Monday Night Raw? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.